Well, greetings, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the stupendous show we call Hypergrid. No, sorry, the Inworld Review. I'm looking at the wrong picture here. And we're the Inworld Review. And we got particles where Coldplay don't. So, right, just bear that in mind. Okay, seriously. My name is Mal Burns. I'm the host of your show. On my left-hand side here is my co-host, Tosha Ryran. Welcome, Tosha.
Well, welcome and thank you for the welcome and welcome, Lear, especially for my part.
Lovely.
Thank you.
And welcome to your voice, too. Hopefully, last week's disasters will not reoccur.
Oh, no, it will not.
On my right-hand side, also, my right-hand man, so to speak. He's the gentleman with a fondness for sitting and fiddling with knobs. Yes, you can do both at once, apparently.
Yes.
It's an achievement,
right.
isn't it?
Yep.
Anyway, James Atlloud, the knobs in question, of course, are audio and video and various other technical things. I wouldn't want you to get the wrong idea about James and his knobs. So,
That's right. That's right.
Welcome, James. Welcome,
All
James.
right. You bet. Thank you, Mal. Always fun to be here.
That was short and sharp there, I see. Right. Okay, and special guest this week, old friend of mine. We've known each other for ages. She's been on countless of these shows, I think, even back in the days of The Other Place. Leah Lobo, welcome, Leah, once again.
Thank you. Hey, Mal.
Good to have you here once again. Now, last time you were here, in fact, we were talking about shopping, and we left it. We'll do part 2 later, and I'll get a bit more back to that shortly, because there's a funny little anecdote coming up ahead of that. But before we do anything else, we're just going to have our usual HG Safari roundup, and that's the screen I was actually looking at. That's not my show, or it feels like it sometimes. Okay. So this week was actually the last week of Safari for this season. It'd be back in, I believe, September, but certainly a couple of months of summer away from it. Just quickly going back over the things. No, that's it. Right. Sorry, I've got so many clips here for us this week that I'm not quite sure where to start. Basically, I'm going to switch across to Thursday's HG Safari blog, which is probably the best way to start today. And the first stop on this week's was the blog post has called it Safari's Wild Season. And it was a meetup on an OS grid region. Oh, Lord. Okay, I'm going to show you the first picture. This basically was the start. Probably the last picture you'll actually ever see of us meeting ready for a safari on this particular region, because the clubhouse and the whole safari operation is going to a grid of its own. When it comes back in September, shared with the HIE conference and Snowbody's Mumble exhibit and the whole art area as well. There's the homage to Torben Aspen, the Arts and Friends posters there, which I'll be talking about later because we went to those in the week. So where we're going to go on. I didn't actually get to see this, since Thursday seems to have actually survived. I think she's a virtual projection, and the dinosaurs have got a bit confused. They thought there was some reason. I'll have a go. No, he's going to have a go. No, the other one's coming back. It's still not there. I don't know. Phantom food, really. Okay, moving on. These are, again, they're all parts of the wild season. Right, the introduction, actually, Thursday was actually talking about the sim where Safari was, that had been gifted by Ange Menges, actually. But then we moved on to the first stop, and basically it's a kind of zooey, scary animal place, basically. You can see some of them there. I actually took quite a lot of film, and one of the problems with filming is you tend to forget what the rest of the group are doing. That guy looks a bit familiar. He's not fully rezzed, oddly enough. Despite his new sense of decor and dressing, and he's really got the looks about him these days. And look what they've done to the poor guy.
I accepted a teleport while flying, and then I'm just laying there falling and no skin.
Yeah, you can't even sit or lie down. You're bouncing. Lost in hyperspace. Dear me. Well, I bet we better not linger on that one, have we? Okay, this is the Wild Region gift shop with animal sort of things. Not much to say about gift shops. On a good old Land Rover, getting ready for the travels. Yeah, everybody loaded up on it except me. I was up in the sky filming while all this happened, basically. And yeah, there we are, heading over the big drawbridge thing there. Let's see. Right. Just the group, I guess, hanging there. Oh, and right, first stop was the sharks. You can see the sign there, and she's looking through the window at the sort of sharks, so you can get a pretty good idea of what was going on.
They're penguins and not sharks.
Oh, God, sorry. No, there is a shark. There's a shark or something there on another bit of the build, I think. I'm sorry. Yes, they are penguins. In fact, it's funny. I watched a video of
and also, Mel, you said that it's mostly big and dangerous animals. That's not quite true. There was one recent with those dinos, and the rest were just normal animals, wild animals.
Yeah, when I was wandering around, much later on, I came across.
It seems you have an eye for dinos.
Well, I did find one day dino once I finished filming, and I came across it by mistake. I thought, oh, not going any further. I'm going to teleport over its head, But it was a rather smaller one, so I missed all the big dino fun. Yes, you're quite right. I actually saw a clip on YouTube or somewhere of new hatchlings of penguins in Antarctica. And they hundreds of them all massed on the side of a huge cliff, miles high, and dove right down in unison into the water.
Yeah.
For a swim. And it's unbelievable. These things are slightly less tall than humans. I mean, we never survive and jump like that,
Yeah, but
happy,
What I find most amazing is that the little ones, the newborn ones, they do the same. As soon as they're old enough, they're all going to the edge of the coast and throw themselves for the very first time, and they're still tiny, and it makes you think, whoa, throw a human baby down there.
Yeah, this is what I was watching. There were called, and it's fascinating. Sort of, I'm afraid we can't actually provide an animated clip of that happening, but worth looking up if you find it on YouTube somewhere. Right, another group shot here. Actually, it's a long shot by the look of the same aquarium, and we'll round the Land Rover again. Now, if you want to pick a picture of a dino, that's a nice pic she's taken.
Yeah,
really get the color, the composition.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, and sort of, I don't. And that thing is scary. Whatever you say. Okay. Jessica there, who's a live videographer who films the safaris too, was all the chat up and everything like that, always there. And those Japanesey sort of, what do you call them, pagodas or something, that sign.
I like those rides on the rovers. They were funny. The seats were a little bit strange,
Yes.
But the rides were fun, and the roads, they're so beautiful, and the landscape was just out of this world. It was just wonderful.
There's a rather embarrassing thing on television last night called Coldplay. Sorry to mention it again. The singer, Chris somebody, he had a stool by his piano, and you might have thought he was on a problematic sim because he was bouncing on this little stool endlessly throughout the performance, as if he couldn't, it was a bit like James in that picture, sitting down on a bag of nails or something. You couldn't keep him still. And I was looking at him and thinking, well, just play the bloody piano instead of bouncing around and showing off, You had a very bouncy stool. Sorry, you're never going to get me. Stop talking about Coldplay for a while, I don't think. Anyway, here's another moody shot there. And a long shot from the air. Okay, moving on. We then went on to the final destination for Safari this season. And this was on Atrexio. And this, of course, is Nick's. It's actually Immersion 5, I believe, on the, what was it, Pangea Grid, I think? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, it is, right. And Nick's is Nick's, basically. He's a master of particles. And as I says, no play really need him, I think. Well, Coldplay, I mean.
Yeah, but but what he did on this mainly was the EEP, the what do you call it? The shared surrounding.
Yeah.
The environment.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's enhanced something. Enhanced parcel parameters.
And that was really exciting there. I think
It is,
the sides, the all the colors and everything. It was really cool.
Well, I've got a slideshow from you, Tosha, in fact, coming up in a second. But these slides at the moment are the ones that came courtesy of the blog. One thing that puts me off a bit about, and not Nick's, but any exhibit that does this, I'll quickly show you a slide here. I like to walk in somewhere and enjoy an experience. I don't really want to take 15 minutes off to figure out settings and then have a narrative where the person is saying, do this, do that, do the other. I just want to enjoy the show. But it really was a show, whether you followed the instructions or not. So as you can see, very colorful here. And nice moving GIFs here. Yeah, there he was at it again. Do this, do this. But anyway. Good, psychedelic, colourful. There's a very sameness to what he does now, whether it's the earlier constructs or where the EEP things he's doing now. They're always very different, but they almost lend themselves to having a performance that goes with it rather than just the skies effect. But I must say, on this particular visit, he was streaming a radio station complete with adverts, but it was a very good radio station full of really chilled out music, which really made the mood of what we were looking at pretty wonderful. What happened there? There we are. And he even had these strange boats. I think I saw James in one of these boats at one point.
Of course. You have to sit in a boat to drive.
Yes, of course. But, you must have been desperate for somewhere. You must have been desperate for somewhere to sit on this visit.
That's right.
Absolutely, yeah. She's happy to stand and pose, of course. And another side to the color scheme. I actually switched to sunsets at one point when on my film. You can see the point where I changed from environmental settings to sunset. And there was a whole section where I had the camera just facing the sunset, and it was just surreal watching the animations and the sunset behind it. There's actually so much going on, you can't really see the people in the picture, can you? It's sort of, I was there somewhere. Jessica always shows up, of course, a brilliant white avatar that she is. And a bit more further, and a safari t-shirt, and and pants. Who is that? Yeah. He's got safari pants.
That's Alex.
Oh, Alex, well, right, okay. I haven't got safari pants. Not that I want, of course. I've got a safari jacket. That's enough. Right. Okay, so that was good, and I'm going to click back down now to the other shows down here, and this is your slideshow, Tosha. Again, I changed it into a 2-minute film, so you can just talk as soon and really your own pictures.
I was just so fascinated by the whole setting, and looking up, I thought there must be more in the sky. So I flew high, and I was as high as 2,000 meters. There It was really tremendous, and it was an explosion of lights, and it was so beautiful, and forms and figures. and I was really excited about it, you know. So I normally don't photograph, but this time I had to.
Yeah. I also found out with filming, I'm moving as far away from what was going on. Like same with the Torben performance. You know, the further out I was from the performance, the better it looked, because you got this whole sort of geometric.
And if you see Tosha in all of these photos, I did that on purpose because also the figures, the lights that caught, you know, the avatars were so beautiful.
Yeah.
It was so amazing. I mean, I was really very excited about that.
Yeah, it really is an all-absorbing sort of event too. And actually, it's funny. I said, you know, well, you know, I'd rather not be told what to do all the while to experience it. But even when left to your own devices, changing, you know, when light settings on top of the EEP and the time of day and things like that, you know, just it gets some remarkable changes to the color schemes and everything, even though you're looking at the same thing. It's, you know, a world of visual wizardry opening up here, really. And this, as you've captured here, Tosha, some of these scenes, no two are really the same. I think sometimes when you're filming and you're in the environment and there's a lot going on, you think, you know, is it just repeating or whatever? But all these pictures have a different quality to them, even though it's the same event. Oh, I think some of your pictures are in here twice. Anyway, that's the end of it for now. Yeah, so rather kind of nice stuff there. Let me have a look just quickly. Right.
Ain't he fancy?
that is Neil will tell you shortly is Mr. Napoleonic. I'm just trying to find. Oh, here. No, that's Torben Ass. What did I do with this week's safari? Oh, here we are. Right. Yeah, this is just a bit of the. I mean, this is an 8-minute shot of film, and I've got another film as well to give you a sort of idea of what was happening there, even beyond the pictures. Yeah, this I liked. I had this set to sunset at one point as well as the shared environments, and the idea of the distance and the way that sun, you know, and the music, the chill out music you can hear behind it, you know, it all just fit together lovely. You know, it wasn't as noisy as the other bits, but it just wanted to make you kind of.
Yeah, but it looks kind of lovely. That's true.
And this was the music playing throughout. It's a radio station. Apart from the adverts, it was just perfectly suited to the environment. Anyway, that will have to wait for another day, I'm afraid. We can't do 3 hours of video on the show. We've missed the other stuff. Right, so let's see where I was on Thursday's blog. That's right. While we're on the Hypergrid Safari Roundup and such like, another post from Thursday this week is about a grid called Atlas. They're going to be having a fashion show coming soon. I gather it will be in July on the Atlas grid. And these are the guys putting it on. And what I found rather amusing here, this is a long shot of where it will be. This is the square is a kind of catwalk and things. And far from being a fashion event, this really made me laugh. It doesn't look so much like fashion as an art event, because look at these people on the catwalk, obviously rehearsing, but they're all what they call ruse. You know, they're the antithesis of a catwalk.
Really funny.
It is. You got to laugh. But I'm sure the fashion show itself will be quite nice. And in fact, the final picture. Oh, there it is. Okay, they're basically coming out of the house there, and they're coming down here on the catwalk. And as they move around, they go around that whole circuit we saw from the air, and then they come back and go into the house. And I only assume that that's where they do quick costume changes on the day. But anyway, that is coming up sometime in July, which is more or less here now. Anyway, so to speak. Right. Okay. Well, that's it for Hypergrid Roundup, so to speak. Oh yeah, the Wild Kingdom we visited. Also, I have some film of it, but there we are. There's your penguins for real. This I've got an edit of it here now. It was on Neverworld Grid, right? I can remember that when we first loaded it, but I've got it on the title of my video. So yeah, it wasn't all dinosaurs. I was up in the sky for look at the cute little bears in the cave. Anyway, that's it for that video. Okay, so let's see. Moving down a little bit here, a couple of pictures here. Wednesday, of course, was the final safari, but the end of the week has been quite busy too. And interestingly, with Leah here, she was with me on Friday anyway for 2 events, so we can connect on that point. The homage to Torben Aspir I mentioned last week, and I've actually filmed the whole concert, plus an introductory thing to the memorial down on the ground, plus an introductory thing that they provided. And all in all, it's about a 90-minute film if I put it all together. So I will probably do that. But oopsie daisy, let me just see if I can give you a rough idea of what was going on. No, that's the intro. Oh, here we are. That's Torben Asp himself. And flicking through the film there, you can see this is actually the area downstairs where the memorial is. And where are we? Yeah. There we are. And you come to the end here, and there's a teleport that took you up into the sky, into a big black dome. A skybox kind of thing, which is where the show was. And of course, I clicked on that, and whoosh, gosh, he was in the air. There he is. And then we got up there and we took our seat, and it stopped there. And yeah, this is 65 minutes of the actual concert bit. And just to give you a flavor. And I mentioned that it's sometimes a good idea to pan right out when you want to film particles and things to get the whole effect, because when you're closed in, you only see sort of what an individual avatar sees around them, but from a distance there's a sort of geometry to it and everything. And the music that's playing is actually music that was recorded on audio at one of his last ever concerts on the grid. And of course, he passed away. It's about 2 years ago now or something. So it was a fitting tribute. They put on the particles. They did a documentary bit, and they had replayed the performance with the as if he was there. And again, great ethereal sort of keyboard sounding stuff by and large. Right. So that was that, and. This is another thing. This was actually on Thursday. I mentioned this last week. I shared this poster. The Virtual Worlds Education Consortium announcing Hypergrid tours on the fourth Thursday of each month at 10 a.m. grid time, which is 6 p.m. in the UK, 7 p.m. in Europe. And I went to the first one. It's a project reimagined an agricultural site into cultural historical landmarks inspired by a poem and film called La Khalifa. What was rather odd, I have to say, if I can find the right clicky thing here. Yeah, this was the welcome region at Kitely, where they're based. But when we actually got to the destination we were going to, it was actually on Wolf Grid, Wolf Territories, in the area called Wolf Tech. And there are lots of their signs around. So it looks to me like they've maybe moved from Kitely and they've got their own areas in the Wolf Tech regions on Wolf Grid. Anyway, again, no time to show you the whole film, but it was lovely. There are lots of different trails going off here. And there was a similarity to them, but there was also very easy to actually get lost. on the first bit of film here, I'm actually busy panning around, finding the caves and all this sort of hidden stuff. And, just basic areas like meditation hubs and things that you come across. And you start at the central trail hub here. And the best bit of it, and I've often cited this as something I like to do, but if I can find an empty sim and I got a spare horse, I like riding around the countryside. It's my thing, in a virtual world. So nice and quiet, playing some music privately here, and on a horseback, wandering around sort of places like this. And these are all Animesh horses, and they behave very well. I actually rode off because I got fed up waiting for the other people who seemed to be having a problem getting on horses. But I mean, they're educators, so Leah will vouch for that. They have problems with horses, don't they? Sorry. No, an in-joke there I should not have made, actually. Right.
Oh, it's okay.
Anyway, I managed to, I was actually on mine, of course, so eventually I just decided to go trotting off by myself and explore the whole region. So, of course, I completely lost track of where they were. But, I could gallop, I could trot, I could do all sorts of things on this horse. And, go up the winding paths and then find one place and then find another and then climb up onto the hill so that I could actually see it's designed that you're riding your horse through these valleys and pathways. And they don't really give you a good way of getting up to a high vantage point. But, of course, having a camera, I managed to do that.
Speaking of horses, Mal, at Christmas, Wolf Territories in their open greeting area had horses for gifts, Animesh. And so I picked up some and brought them to Virtual Harmony for my group because they run a farm with horses, miniature and of course quarter horses. And so we all rode and we created an entire story and grid based on that.
This, I think, is sort of what Virtual Worlds Education Consortium, who you probably know, of course.
Oh, yes, I'm a member.
Have actually done there. Val Librarian was there, and Zenon Darrow, I think I know from some.
Yes.
But it's got a small group actually turned out for Safari. But of course, this all was on Wolf Territories, and Wolf himself, Lone Wolf, seems to be creating endless sort of things, HUDs for this, that, and the other, and the Animesh horses. They probably come as a perk for the grid actually, but I don't know whether maybe I'll have to go back and try and pick one up.
We had gift ones just as you land at their territory before you go in. Yeah, at the welcome area.
Yeah. So as you can see, I'm trotting away quite happily this was Thursday. This was Thursday. I don't know what else they've got in store. I remember when I saw the advert last week for the thing they were saying, they're doing it for Thursday of the month. I was quite excited because it's not Hypergrid Safari, but it's a similar idea, but only once a month. And also, despite the fact they're based in Crichtley, or they were at the time, it did actually indicate that this was going to be Hypergrid tours. So hopefully they'll be going to other locations that they're not maybe so closely connected with, because I think it would get a bit tiring if we were going to another one of their locations every time. But I thoroughly enjoyed the first one there, as I said. Right, so we did Torben, we did that. Oh yeah, and finally, after the wonderful concert on Friday, we went to the opening of a region on OS Grid called Art and Friends. And like you were with me, of course, with Torben Asp earlier, and you followed me on to this. Again, I'm not showing all the video now, but we were dancing upstairs, but I was panning down here, looking at all the various art exhibits. And there was one which I think segues into today a little bit, except I got it in the wrong order, of course, but I think we'll do it first. There's at least one exhibit here that was an exhibit of AI art. I'm scrolling through this fast in the hope of actually finding it, but basically this is one I think that might have been it. In fact, there was probably more than one. I can't zoom in. I'm playing the video. I keep thinking I've got a camera on my hand. Right. But interestingly, it's become quite a common thing, actually, that a lot of artists, musicians, and all sorts of people, they're either up in arms against AI, or they're super indulging in it. My feeling is it's like anything we've had on computer over the years. It's meant to be a tool. A computer is a tool. There's lots of tools on it, but it's not meant to ruin your life. Well, ruin it too, but it's meant to be an enhancement tool. So I think AI is probably safe enough if it's viewed that way. But when it gets out in the wild, who knows? But having got to this point, and since we're in what a convenient segue, before we move into the shopping part 2, I think we'll go to the AI pics of yours. There.
Sounds good.
On the middle screen there, right?
Oh.
So basically, I turned all the pictures of yours that you showed me the other day on Discord, and I just
Well, I
loaded
need to
them.
explain for a moment because this is the punchline. This is an actual portrait of a famous figure, and I I had created a warrior elf, and Yubit Umarov looked at it and said, "Oh, that is Napoleon Bonaparte taking the bridge at from the Austrians." And I said, "Really?"
Yeah.
And of course, I found this image. This is not created by me. This is an actual portrait of Napoleon.
Of Napoleon at the time.
Yes.
And he's I know he's got long hair, but I don't detect the elven ears anywhere.
Well, you have to see the warrior elf version that I created. This is the real one.
Yeah, I'm being cynical there. Anyway, this is a film. I can pause these
That's
if you
the
want.
warrior elf. And see, you can't see his ears very well. You have to realize one thing about AI, and hello everyone. This is Lear speaking. I teach AI, and I'm actually exploring natural language processing, how we talk to a system and get it to obey. Now, I asked for all kinds of very intricate things. My prompts go on at great length, until I hit the limit, but I don't always get what I want. Often it'll create figures that have 3 legs, 3 arms, 15 figures, or the hand, they'll be wrapped in an embrace, dancing, and all of a sudden you'll look at one of the hands and you realize it's his coming around to his own shoulder. Not in this figure, but in another. And so there's a sense of whimsy that's occurring in these. And interestingly enough, I like that. It stimulates something deep within me, emotion and light and shadow. I have asked for a lot of different things, gossamer. I've asked for certain sparkles and lighting effects, colors. I called out all these colors in my prompt, and I wanted the wonder of a child, children getting together in discovery. Here, discovering a spell and feeling it go up, feeling what it feels like to have this magic occur. And this is collaboration. And calling this out, I write. I'm starting to write fiction. And so I'm really thinking about what is it that touches something deep within me. So when I create this stuff,
I mentioned this to you the other day, of course, and it was this particular. I've just paused on this one actually.
Sure.
The
secret cave.
Yeah, it's a bit like getting loads of pictures together of something and then making a comic book of all the panels and then inventing the story. Sure. What is on the other side of that arch is what
well, actually, because you said that, in the actual exhibit, I put the other side of the arch. I put what's on the other side.
Very good. But I mean, it's also the whole continuity of the thing. It's not just the other side of the arch, but you've got a scene on the other side that invokes something else, maybe 2 possible stories, and you've got to choose one way to go, and that kind of thing.
You'll notice these are inspired by the Romantic period or by Thomas Cole's Voyage of Life from the Romantic period. He is Creative Commons 0 at the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. So I don't use a starting picture. These are all produced by words, but I do anchor it with the style of the Romantics, the style of Elizabeth Louise Vigée-Lebrun, who was famous for her portraits of Marie Antoinette and other figures in the 1800s and around 1787. And I also go for lighting, shadow. I do some enhancements, not in Photoshop, but within the AI tool itself. Thanks, Mal.
Yeah, so we got to another. I'm just looking at some of
Oh,
these.
this one too.
Yeah. No, I'm a big. I mean, my big thing, of course, is psychedelic art from the good old days. But one fascination of the period in art that I'm fascinated with is pre-Raphaelites. And there is something, so probably in the costuming and some of the things about some of the classic pre-Raphaelite stuff that these pictures are invoking. I mean, it is obviously artificial, but I keep wondering, what could they do with pre-Raphaelite era?
Right.
You know, which is highly romantic, a lot of it. I mean,
Oh, yes.
it's odd. It's, you know, the pre-Raphaelites were poets, prose, art, everything else. And then they still had a bit of the religious influence to art, and then they had the wild fantasy and the romantic side too. So, and a lot of different styles, some of which I didn't like particularly much. But there is something about that era and
Oh,
the way
yes.
all these artists and writers and poets particularly came together. And yeah, well, one of these pictures anyway, just it wasn't that one. I think it was. Oh, I don't know where it was now.
I have
Yeah,
another variation of that where his spell fizzles and she heals him. So and so he's casting and she's not the same two figures. And I called out their outfits. I described how the sleeves should be, the hair. I get very detailed in my natural language processing prompts.
all right. Are you, Tosha? You've been very quiet. Have you got interest in this? I know it's strictly speaking. Well, there's a parallel here, and because virtual worlds are used for storytelling, but
I'm quite fascinated because I tried with these AI programs. Of course, I did, and I never achieved anything. It was all I did was stupidities, and then I said, "Well, it's not my thing."
yeah.
Well, it just takes time. It took me 2 months working every day for a few hours to produce 80 works that I liked.
Okay.
Because there were a lot of things I didn't like.
And all these are Mid-Journey. Am I right in thinking?
Yes, I use Midjourney 6.0 for these. This is my 3rd exhibit, and of course, everything I produce, I give out for free. So, all the images as well as, I mount them as well and put them up in exhibits. So if someone would like me to exhibit it somewhere, I'd be happy to. Otherwise, I'm currently making a catalog of these, and I'll have it in a PDF with really large shots for others to enjoy. And I always put a Creative Commons license on it that does not have any restrictions. Because and you know why? Because I don't think that of myself as an artist. I think of myself as a storyteller, right?
A lot of image libraries and things are refusing this stuff now because they've been flooded with it. And also,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I say that by and large, I can see AI a mile away. I don't know what it is. It may be beautiful. I don't not appreciate it. But, you know, it's like something can be too perfect. So I know it's fake, or it's a bit rough and I know it's fake. There's different reasons. But
well, it's almost never perfect, Mal. If you really look at it, you'll see all kinds of strange things. Like I was looking at a court scene I created. I did a Middle Earth setting. And when you look at the people in the distance, they have faces coming out of the back of their hair. There's always little interesting moments, so you can easily detect it. Also, in Midjourney 6.2 or 6.0, excuse me, it has started to think of signatures for art as a form of art. So it started to create its own signatures, which look a little like the Kenwa font, for the Lord of the Rings language, the One Rings script, right, for the Elven language, and so it is starting to write that in various places, and of course that's disconcerting because then you wonder, am I infringing on someone's rights? And then you look at it and you realize that's not any language that we speak today.
Yeah, and it's it's sort of when I was a kid, mostly, actually, I used to do photo montage and things. I cut up things from papers, everything everywhere, and I'd go to my bedroom wall and completely cover it. Forget what the wallpaper was in there.
Serial killers do that too.
I would do cutouts, and I'd merge one scene into another, and then do a cutout of character that overlapped both, so that you can see the seams. Yeah, and My parents hated it, but
Uh-huh.
they had to change their mind when an art lecturer came round and had a look
Oh,
and said,
yeah.
"Oh, he's good," So a little bit of
Isn't that
history there,
great?
but yeah, it's quite funny because obviously AI is sourcing existing material. It's just sourcing such an enormous amount of data that it's coming up with something you think is unique, whereas in fact it never can be. It can't think in the creative sense. It can only compile using a sort of creative logic.
Okay, but Mel, really, that is the same thing with all of the people. I mean, the human brains,
Yeah,
they come up with unique ideas, but these ideas are based on their own experience, on what
uh,
they've seen, on what they've thought, on what they've heard, and all these things. I mean, nobody will invent the wheel
no,
another time. So
Yeah.
wherever there is a wheel in a picture, somebody has already made it. You cannot, and it depends very much on your own experience, and it's not for nothing that artists, in their pictures, for example, or in their stories, recreate their own lives. What
yeah.
you haven't seen, what you haven't experienced, you cannot write about, you cannot draw about, you cannot paint about.
I know with comic book artists, for example, when I've interviewed them, I mean, sort of the inevitable question comes up. What were
Mm.
what were your influences? And
But
the answer to that question is the same thing. In the back of their mind, they were influenced by this, that, and the other. There was nothing new under the sun. It's our
yeah,
whole
Mhm.
yeah,
creative lives are
and
history, a legacy of a history in itself. So
that the thing about AI is that, of course, it can use much more things than you can use because it has much more possibilities, because you cannot use so many things out of the internet, for example, than AI can.
it's like the Bitcoin mining thing, isn't it? Well, here's a painting for you. I've just melted an iceberg in the process. Makes you wonder
Yeah,
slightly.
yeah,
It's funny, I've never asked him actually. But interesting
mm,
thing. I know our old friend from the other place, Philip Rosedale, is one of
mm.
it. I know he's a consultant with Midjourney. He might be an investor, I don't know too, but I've never actually managed to sort of ask him about that. It's in passing, so, oh, I did a bit of,
and and
but
what
I wonder from the visionary point of view, sort of
and what I really like AI for, and which what I really use it a lot for, is for writing. You know,
Mhm.
yeah,
I am a writer too, so I write a lot, and sometimes it helps. It gives me, I say, well, tell me a story so and so, and I give what I want to say, and then I say, that's the one way to look at it, and maybe then I can change it and do something about it. I use it, and of course I use it for translation, because it has a beautiful way to translate. It's fantastic.
or if it's yeah, I mean, it's knowledge of languages and stuff must be.
Yeah, and it's not you cannot compare it with a Google translation, which I used
Right.
before, because I do a lot of translations, and normally also in real world. And of course, for the raw translation, I use the Google, but you have to change so many things afterward that I found it's almost not worth it. And with the
Mhm.
AI translations, they work wonderful.
Yes, I spoke
Again,
at a conference in China, and they used an AI translator, and it was very smooth.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I do
yeah,
too. I mean, I really, and I like translations, and I like languages, and the ones that I know myself, I really cherish them, and I like them very much. But in that, AI is a huge help for me. Makes things a lot faster and easier, and you know.
Okay. Well, before we leave the art side of it, AI or not, I did show you a brief clip. I'm obviously not going to run through the whole film of the Arts and Friends region we saw the other day. We arrived at a kind of dance above, and it was a matter of sort of them panning down in camera and looking around. But did you have any thoughts on that region? There was an awful lot there down below.
You're talking to me?
Yeah, yes,
Well,
Tosha wasn't there,
you
I
know,
don't
I
think.
thought it was beautiful. All of the art was varied, so there's something for everyone. And then there's quite a bit of whimsy, and play, and even some provocative. So there's a little
Yeah,
of everything for everyone.
yeah, I thought so. Well, if you want to check out that, you'll find it on OS Grid, which of course is a huge grid, one of the original ones. And the region, very simply, is called Arts and Friends. But between the three words, there is a hyphen, and it's not the and. Yes, it uses the and symbol. So it's like arts,
Ampersand?
plural, hyphen, then ampersand, yeah, you call it, yeah, then hyphen, and then friends. So you should be able to find it. Just go to OS Grid and look at Arts and Friends, and a lot to see. And it's really well, not just the art on display, but the region is very well executed underneath. It's very samey in terms of its landscape, but the landscape contrasts with the variety of all the kind of exhibits, so it doesn't feel samey. And it's just very well mapped out in terms of being able to move around. There's a big one half of the area is like surrounding a big lake and different mini environments, and then the other half is just doesn't have a lake in the middle. It's just a continuous exhibit. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what happens there. And I was thinking of you when I saw that there. I thought, well, hey, if you're going to contribute your art to Open Sim, that might be a place to go
I
back to.
could.
And,
The reason I don't ask around is some people are very offended by AI art. I don't think of it as a replacement for art or even a substitution. I really think of it as an empowerment for me practicing my prompt engineering and for visualizing the scenes that are somewhere deep inside me when I'm writing, pulling them out. And there was a reciprocity there, when I'm creating the art and then I go to write about it. By the way, it's easy to find that sim. All you have to do is type arts in the map interface and it pops right up.
oh, right,
Mhm.
brilliant. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, and down to I suppose it's a bit like there is a similarity to me here in terms of you're using the software to tap into your own thoughts in your own mind a bit, much as you might do if you were building a region for yourself. That is a creative
That's right.
process. I know that is an AI Bisvart or whatever that we're looking at now, but that if I actually saw a sim that was that detailed, I think, oh, wonderful build. But in a way, maybe it's the same process. Oh, I want to see a light coming through an arch, and it needs to be old and look well worn, and it needs to be magnificent. Larger than life.
Mal, after talking with you, I realize it's almost a form of therapy for me. I'm
Yeah.
working 5 jobs, 5 universities, 15 classes a term. And so I'm so crazy busy that somehow I need that beauty and that sense of wonder and whimsy. And even when it's wrong, when there's 3 arms and 3 legs on a person, I still enjoy it. And so thank you for inspiring that in me, because the more you talk to me about it, the more you make me question it, and I work with it a little more stringently. So thanks.
Great. Well, that's what it's all about. Feeding off other people. Okay, I'm moving up to right. I think James may have a lower third here that we can put up. Oh, not that one. Okay. We're going to move to the second part of our thing with you, Leah, today, and that is some time ago. Was it last year or was it the year before? I can't quite remember.
This one
that.
is November 2023.
Right. Oh, so it's not that long ago. Okay. Well, this is a picture I'm looking at now at Open Sim World, and it's Thursday's post. So it is 7 months ago, when we had the first part of a shopping and content discussion, and basically you had far more than we were going to get into it, and we ended the show saying, "Oh, we've got to get you back and do part 2." Of course, lots of things have happened in the meantime with AI and stuff, but technically you're also back to give us a little bit of part 2. If not, maybe we'll have part 3 later. I don't know of this. But if you go to OpenSimWorld, I think James can put this on the lower third. It's opensimworld.com/post/104302, from what I can make out. And the reason I'm actually giving it rather than just showing it on screen is that there's a lot of the community, many people recognize their own names here, who actually make comments about this show. It was also a very popular show, I think, simply because it was about shopping, and it got blogged and then everybody logged in. They don't do that for normal shows, Joe Builder, for example, says herself commenting. Ariella is there. I mean, Jupiter Roland, all the people commenting here. Oh, including Phil, I don't know actually. Nico is, but
They're wonderful comments.
Quite a conversation there. So if you want to look up that address at some point and put this show on pause, you can look at the old one and then the comments and then come back to watch the show from whatever time it is now on the timeline. So that's a little bit of a plus thing. And also, Leah is now going to show us some slides in World. But I would point out that they're also available here on Google Docs, and that's docs.google.com/presentation/D. Look, it's too long for me to read out.
Sure.
It's too long to put on the lower third also, Mel. So
yes, it is.
You think something like Google could come up with short URLs?
I can put it in a comment for the show later, on YouTube, so they can just see it there.
Yeah, that is okay. So you will be able to find a little bit more about this as we go along. But meanwhile, I'm now toggling back to doesn't matter what picture I show at this point. I'll let you move over to the second screen on the left here, to us in the studio, and you can, how to use it. You just click forward. So maybe talk through the slides a bit like a presentation. You're in charge, so to speak.
Great. Well, I want to thank everyone for inviting me, Mal, Tosha, and of course, James. And this isn't exactly part 2 because what happened last time is I had like 57 slides. We showed about 20 or 30 of them. And I realized that, some of the sites go offline. Some of them might have had copybot content. There was a lot of wonderful feedback from the community. So I came up with some different selections this time, and I created this last night. So this is what we call hot off the press.
Yeah.
So I know they're open at this time. I'm a professor, and of course, I'm always thinking about geek gifts for educators and also cool things for our classes. So I'm not covering avatar appearance in this one. So my apologies about that. The reason I include these links in here is so you can go visit, you can get the slides, but I am going to look at Stark North District, the Friends Mall, Wildwood Bayou, and Dival's, just to do a little update for the musical instruments and the fact that they're now on alternate metaverse. Because when I first went there, they were on a German grid.
Right.
I have a little bit about process in here because there's so many new residents who don't know how to hypergrid or feel cautious. And while OpenSimWorld would tell you that they're not a shopping guide, right? I still love it. And this is my go-to place in addition to Hyperica or to Outworlds or to all the different places that curate hypergrid links. I go here first because I love to hear what the community thinks about these regions. Are they open right now? Is someone there? Because I will tell you, I'm kind of painfully shy, Mal. Sometimes I want to go browse quietly. I'm going to tell you something racy here, okay? Many years ago, I was in Second Life, and back then, they used to have naked concerts, right? Where everyone would have to go and be partially or completely nude, right? And of course, for educators, this is a problem because our deans don't like it if we're having adult moments, right? Yeah, and privately, much less with students, right? So we must always be above reproach. So one day, a male professor, had asked me to go find him a male member so he could feel comfortable. He didn't want anything exciting. He just wanted to make sure he didn't feel like a Ken doll, okay? So I was
Yeah.
like, what an interesting problem. I'm an educator. I'm a scientist. I could do this. So I go off looking for one, the quest for a penis. And of course, I'm like, I have my requirements, skin color, etc. And he asked if he could come with me. I says, "Oh no, that would invite you into my sexuality. I'll do this alone.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you go find your own penis, you know." So anyway, I'm off looking when all of a sudden I get a whisper. And the whisper is from someone who later I realized had done the space shuttle simulation for the International Space Museum. And had scrupulously looked at the Goddard Space Station's plans for how the space shuttle worked, right? How the bay doors open, how everything looks and feels. Anyway, and he's whispering to me, going, "Hey, what are you looking at?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm on a scientific quest to find a penis." And he says, "Oh, yes." And of course, he's thinking it's for me. Like,
Well, of
oh
course.
my god. And of course, you meet the most interesting people this way.
Right.
So this is something that I've learned, that shopping sometimes should be personal, but sometimes it's a playful, joyful way of getting to know people, right?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
indeed.
funny.
So, but I am a little shy, okay? So,
Yeah, but
in
I
any
remember
event,
your former colleague. She hasn't been around for a long while. Philippe too.
oh yeah,
She had a story about her first day in Second Life, and I think it
oh
took her
yeah,
about 30 minutes to end up in bed with somebody. I mean,
oh wow,
it was hilarious, you know.
oh that's great.
Yeah. But anyway, yes, stop it. You
So
do have
on
to
this slide, I'm
spend a
just
little
talking
bit.
about the process for
But yeah,
people who have never used the OpenSim and gone through the Hypergrid, and many people don't know how to use their map facility and how
yeah,
to. But here we're finding regions. Then, of course, I'm pointing out with the little red arrows where you find the Hypergrid location, right? And then, of course, where you put it on the world map. And I did this before, but I've cleaned it up a little bit, and I numbered the text instructions on the right so they can use this with their students, okay?
Mhm.
And I'll give this talk again for one of the educator conferences too, maybe two of them. Anyway,
why not?
at
Yeah.
Divols, they have musical instruments. And I love music. I play 5 or 6 instruments,
Oh,
and I love, yeah. I play classical guitar, piano. I have a baby grand piano. I used to be concert mistress of an orchestra for 3 or 4 years, and back in my youth, you know. And so I just love all this opportunity to play music and to be part of
yeah.
the band, to be a rock star, right?
I've got an electronic keyboard right by me here. I just love
All
fiddling with
right,
it.
that's great. I bought a I bought
Emphasis on
a
fiddling. Sorry.
I bought a Mod 7 synthesizer, 78 key, I think, Yamaha, to compose music as part of my, next phase in my creativity, right? When I
Yeah.
get time. And we have educators who also do uh, pre-K, or they will do K through 12, and they'll do early childhood. And believe it or not, equipment like this really helps them to set up what it's like to be on the playground, what it's like to be a child, and then of course set up simulations that put them through stressful situations and how to recover from it. What happens when someone gets hurt, for example, on
Yeah.
a playground? And so I love this stuff. Plus, if I was a kid, I would love to play in this stuff. We didn't have this kind of playground equipment when I was young, right? So there
I
I am playing around.
I don't really fairly estranged from family and stuff. But a few years ago, my sister and two of my three nephews came up to London, and
Ah,
one of them had a kid. 3 years. I don't know at the
sure.
time. I'm trying to remember. But we went to a local playground for the younger set, and that
Uh-huh.
thing you're standing on now. There's
Yeah.
one rather like that, but bit more complicated.
Oh,
Right?
sure.
And the only person that got injured was my nephew, who was the father of the kid, because he went out there to rescue the kid and couldn't get himself out of the
Oh, yeah,
small
you got stuck, huh?
you know? Yeah, because it was built for really younger
Okay.
kids, and he got stuck in it, which I always thought was, well, his playground's awful dangerous for adults, you know.
So that sign where it
Sorry.
says must be over 3 feet to ride
Yeah,
needs to say must be under 3 feet to enter
yeah,
for
exactly.
him.
Well,
Okay.
to enter is okay. You can be bigger, but to get out again, you must be under 3 feet.
Become one with the playground.
Mhm.
It used to be the Incredible Shrinking Man or whatever it is.
Well, that's it, that's it.
Yeah,
And of course, we can't stretch the prim and edit it to get him out. But, and then I went to Stark North District. You have to realize my research group at Virtual Harmony, and we create all kinds of grids. We study the mission to Mars. We've spent 15 years working on the problem of how will we get there, right? How will we stay sane, cognitively healthy? And then once we're there, how do we get blue skies on Mars? How do we turn it into a breathable living space? Okay? Those are problems that are not possible in real life today, but we're hoping to find some answers. So we do a lot of simulations and games and use AI to explore that space. So, um, we all have birthdays in May, it turns out, and Ubit brought to our birthday party some gifts from this location. So I had to go visit Zeta Worlds at the Stark North District. And of course, I found all kinds of discoveries there. My first discovery is almost everywhere I was going, except for Divols, was an adult, or maybe that is too, was an adult region. So of course, educators can't bring their students, especially if they're underage, to these locations because there's a lot of frank and provocative content just as soon as you land.
that
But that's good. Yeah,
I have to say, in open sim,
yeah,
actually,
sure.
sometimes they don't tell you. You know, they just don't
No, no,
mark
I
it.
know.
You know, which it's well,
I noticed at
be
all the
careful.
places I went, there was someone nude somewhere, who and of course, there was also educational signs, like, "We're gonna go to Wildwood Bayou," and they had this wonderful sign in Storyville that talked about the brothels and the how rich the business was in, New Orleans back in the day. I had no idea they'd made that much money. But, yeah, so it was pretty wild. But, so it's educational as well, is what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
in this case, I started out and I landed in the furniture area in the upper left there, and then I went to the pet store, of course, because Ubit had brought a bunch of, Animesh pets that we just dearly loved, similar to your love of horses, because I had brought the horses at Christmas, see? So here we are. So we went to the furniture area, and I'm just showing this so that when educators or anyone in OpenSim lands here, you can get a sense of there's a lot of shops, a lot of rich content, a lot of fun. So, but what I was really struck with was Arcadia Asylum's
Oh yeah.
memorial there.
Oh,
And of course, this beautiful quote that is inside of it. And I don't know if anyone can read it, but it says, "The moving finger writes, and having writ, moves on. Nor all thy piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all
absolute,
thy tears wash out a word of it."
Mm.
absolute classic quote there. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And inside,
Yeah,
I'll take a
actually,
little peek.
ironically,
Notice what's inside the monument. What's that?
I was going to say, ironically, it always reminds me of Agatha Christie rather than
Oh,
what was
yeah.
it, Shakespeare, because she wrote the Moving Finger novel,
She
didn't she?
did, and I've been going through all the Hercule Poirots and the Miss
Oh,
Marples, and
you did.
well, I'm working on a 5-book cozy mystery series, and I'm working on the various character arcs, so I've been studying all the greats, right?
Well,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen of the audience, I want you to realize that this person we're interviewing is not just one person. There are about 20 of her. Because she does all these things. I swear it takes 20 people, and that's without sleep.
Well, it's exciting. It's a
Right.
wonderful time to be alive with all this possibility, right? But,
Yeah.
But I was entranced with this, and then I wrote this little bit on the left because Ada Radius and Kyogre Magic have been curating Allie's designs and setting up a region where you can actually get in the ship and go sailing and fire the cannons and have the experience. So I thought it was a wonderful connectivist moment that we have this content here. I, of course, have content in other worlds, and then, of course, they have theirs on that island. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to their efforts as well. But I always peek behind the scenes and think about what we're doing and the amazing work that went into all these designs. So in the upper left, those were my birthday gifts. And in all fairness, he gave them to everyone in our group because we all have birthdays in May.
Are they Animesh, by the way?
Oh, yeah, they are. And
Oh,
if you look at the little call out below the dog, he gets up on his hind legs and he puts one paw out, brings it in. He puts the other paw out and brings it in. And I instantly flashed to the Macarena. I was like, whoa. But I know he's trying to shake hands, but he also gets down, he runs around, he rolls over, he gets down. He does a rich set of Animesh. It's really very clever. And of course, the wolf has several wonderful things that he's doing, but at that point, he's howling. And then the chicken is pecking around and carrying, looking around. And we want to put a shout out to Joyce Betancourt, who's Rhiannon Chatnoir of the OSCC. She broke her leg in 2 places, stepping into a chicken, a hole that the chickens, I guess, made near the chicken coop. So, of course, I can't think of a chicken now without thinking of Joyce, right?
Right.
But she's recovering. Her surgery went well, and we're so happy for her. She's back at the Nonprofit Commons and at Avicon, and then pretty soon we'll start planning the next Open Simulator Community Conference. So there's the chicken call. And then the cat. I love that cat, and there's several different skins for that cat. I have 3 or 4 of them now, and I just love all the little gestures it does.
Yeah. My Second Life avatar. Sorry.
I know, it's beautiful.
In the other place.
In the other place.
I have an avatar that is feline by nature.
When we leave this world, we'll be in the other place, but it'll be any place and every place, right, Mal? Because no matter where we go, there you are.
I just love channeling that creature. Oh, yeah. Unlike Open Sim, where I was human and I like riding horses and things, but I actually channel that cat, and it's...
Oh, sure. It's you. Yeah.
Why not? It's the only thing that you can do that's useful in there.
Sure. But so you see all these pets in the pet store. Well, what's funny is when you go there, if you haven't been before, look up because there's a box. So you notice it in the lower left, and the box says there's one of everything in the store in this box. And of course, I found that more than halfway through my visit.
You picked up everything anyway. Yeah.
I need to look up more often. That's the moral to the story for Dungeons and Dragons is humans never look up. Always look up for that lurker above, right?
So true. So true. Right.
So moving along, for my birthday gifts for the gang, I went and to the Friends Mall, and I talked to one of the owners there, and of course, I had a wonderful time, and she steered me to this collection at one of the back shops. They also have equestrian stuff there too, Mal, that I didn't explore. I was going to do that for another visit. I've been there several times, but I have to tell you, because I'm an educator, I'm fascinated with books, okay? And so let's take a look here. What you see in the foreground, let's see, I think I have slides of this, yes, it's coming up. So let me move on into it. This is a Game of Thrones table, and it's huge. It's kind of like it's like a 9-foot billiards table. And I show the bottom of it in the bottom part of the slide so you get a sense of it. But it's a map of all the different regions.
I keep forgetting there's the other, because I always think of the main area of Game of Thrones is a bit like Britain, but huge.
Sure.
And then you cross the channel and there's just like the Europe continent.
That's it.
I always forget, I always forget about that other continent, apart from the Blondie and her dragons are coming from it.
Sure.
all the action takes place on the other one, so it's very easy to forget. And seeing it there, it's a bit of a disconnect because it seems smaller than I remember. I always had the impression.
Well, the table is huge. I should have put myself next to it so you get a sense of its size, but it is huge. And I play Dungeons and Dragons. I have for a really long time since it was new. And I do a lot of role play. I did 30 years of game conventions, right? And so and I do all the voices. Anyway, go right ahead.
One of your AI paintings, actually, I don't know whether I mentioned it at the time, maybe when we were talking the other day, it made me think of, even that could be a Game of Thrones one. There's just three of them. It was one of the ones near the beginning. If I can't find it, I won't bother. But certainly, the characters, in the painting, we'll call it that.
You're thinking of the one with the women probably at court.
The three elven women, I think, together.
It's coming up.
I just thought that could be a scene from
it could be
Game of Thrones or something. It's certainly inspired by something like that. But anyway, I'll just let that play in the background. Let's get back to your map.
Oh, sure.
Easily diverted here.
So from the map, you'll notice I said I love books, right? So, of course, I'm always on the quest for great-looking bookcases that are quirky and interesting. And the reason is because my group includes mesh artists and texturers who are just really excellent. They do all their own work, all their own textures and everything. So it's very hard to give people who are wonderful designers gifts, right? Because they've already got it. But these were items they just didn't have. And I'm doing a little call out of the books on the right in that bookcase. And it is sculpty. So when you pull back, it deforms, right? Which I'm not as fond of. But when you're close, it has a rich, beautiful textures. It's lit and it's really well made. In the upper center, that's almost like a little school desk from the old days, except it has little drawers at the top, right? As well as a drawer below it. And a really cool book and some other artifacts. And then the bookcase on the left is huge. Go ahead, Mal. Yes.
Something I way going back, I don't know even ever come across this, going way back in time, 20 years or so, before, maybe even before Second Life. Alone Open Sim. On Windows, there was an application called Rooms for Windows.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like going into a modern sim in Open Sim or somewhere. You had rooms, and then after so many doors, you had a garden, and you had places you could walk around and stuff. And you could customize it by putting all sorts of things down in it. Now, my main thing, because it was an interface to Windows, rather, it's a customization job, was my kind of study and my entertainment room, as well as a little garden out back. Mm-hmm. The entertainment room simply had like a screen, as it would, and I could click through a library of, actually it wasn't really movies in those days, but flash files and things like that. But the other genius one is I could res a bookshelf. And I could res individual books on the bookshelf.
Oh, nice.
And the link of each book could be a PDF on my system somewhere.
Oh, that's great.
So the moment I went up to my bookshelf and I clicked on Dummy's Guide for Windows, essential reading, and it would then be a physical copy. And you showed that little table where the book is open and you actually read it. It wasn't quite that advanced, but I could, I could set the trigger so that it opened a PDF file in the PDF reader at a convenient size on the screen, that it would be like a window within the window. And it was great. Unfortunately, the time I eventually stopped using it was, I think it may have been when Second Life came along. The poor old computer could not handle both at once. The engine that ran this, Rooms for Windows, hogged the whole darn system. I mean, it didn't affect your ability to open a PDF or a Word document or something, but it certainly put paid to the idea of running, a game of any significance on it.
Yeah.
But you'd have loved it.
Excuse me, folks. I just wanted to jump in. There's a question from YouTube and a comment about loving the bookcases. But then going back to slide 10, there was a memorial for Arcadia Asylum, and you were going to say there was something inside the memorial?
Well, yes. It's actually, you can buy for $0 one of everything that Arcadia assembled. Now, I don't know if it's a complete set, but the image said box of everything for underwater laboratory, sea view, pier collection, underwater pirate, space, miscellaneous, um, something about urban, and then of course and those are all curated in boxes with many artifacts within each box. So it's a box of boxes, right?
Okay.
With the collection. And remember, Allie gave everything for free to the
Right.
community.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about the digital rights for this content. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
And it's scripted, it's mesh, it's beautiful. It's just I lived on her boat, the clipper ship, the Golden Hind, for several years. And because it was narrow enough that it would fit on a narrow parcel, and yet it was wonderful. And I could shoot the cannons off at my neighbors if they got a little too testy with me, and my quirkiness. Oh, but anyway, um, it's good times. Was there a question about the bookcase also?
No, just a comment that the
Okay.
viewer loves the bookcase. So
Well,
really
I love it,
nice
and
bookcases.
I don't know if you can tell in the image here, but when you see my slides, and you're always welcome to them, everything I do is open source. You'll notice there's Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude. There's
Yep.
Anne McCaffrey's Dragon Singers. Let's face it, these people help shape how we think and have written things that really move us, right?
Mm.
So there's some wonderful books in that list, and so when I look at it, I feel like I'm connecting over time with this community of people. Now, I've gone to 18 years of writers' conferences. For the first 9 years, I went for vacation. That's how I spent my vacation. And I would get 300 writers to sign my books. And I'd have lunch with them and I'd talk to them about their work. And some of them had created TV shows like Sliders, Murder She Wrote, Dexter, and other shows. And I would talk to them about their plots and their stories and get to know them. A friend of mine wrote Seven of Nine that became a Voyager character in Star Trek, and
Oh,
just all kinds of
yes.
fun. What's that?
I remember that character. I'm not a
Oh,
big
yeah.
Trekkie, but so 7 and 9 was fun. Yeah.
I know, what a wonderful character, and that was Christy Golden, who lived here in Colorado. We had lunch at these conferences, and then she's now out of state, and she continues to write for many other series, including World of Warcraft, and of course, she wrote for Dungeons and Dragons, and for Ravencroft, and
Yep.
other areas. But anyway, so to me, these connections for these designs in the virtual world transcend into the literature and to empowering me to be more creative, to
Mm.
to think and use these in my all the things I do. Now this is the round table from the Arthurian legends, okay? And it looks a little crowded because I put 7 big gifts on it. And inside the gifts, I put all this stuff you're looking at, right? And of course, it has a map but it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And I just love this. The people who put all this time, attention, and love into these designs, I'm just so thankful. And I wanted to put a shout out to them. This is all from the Friends Mall. These are all these treasures. And I know we always focus on avatar appearance, furnishings, the top 4 things that you buy, but I like to get gifts for people that just really spark their
Different.
imagination.
I think I could be
Collectibles.
visiting there for sure, actually.
Oh, yeah. Now,
Actually,
how would you like to
you're
have a
like this.
bookcase like
I look at the details of all these scrolls and
Oh, I
things.
know.
This morning, I haven't tried it yet. Well, except for the opening scene.
Uh-huh.
I downloaded the new fully 3D version. It's flat screen
Uh-huh.
as well of Riven, the sequel to Myst.
Oh,
And
good.
I've never been able to play games at all. I get shot down in the first panel, but Myst
Sure.
had such a profound effect on me. And Riven actually annoyed me because it was more flat screen, even though it
Yes.
was more beautiful to look at. But apparently, the new one it certainly looks like
Okay.
it's a masterpiece of reworking. But
It's
anyway,
amazing.
you know the story in the Mist and things. It's that you see all these
Mm,
scrolls and things, and
That's
it's
right.
it's the written books are such a major part of the story. They're not just books to read while you're playing the game. A book is an age and all that sort of stuff.
Well,
It's
Mal, you have such a strong visual eye and such a gift for theater and, for staging, for video. Did you see the video that the creators of Myst created? It takes you through how they designed it, how the story
uh,
came alive for
Oh yeah,
them.
yeah.
Oh, it's
that
just
was
amazing. Did you
that
see
was
that?
just yeah, that was just really great. I
I
played
love
Myst when it was a computer
me
game,
too.
play
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
game, and I just loved it. I loved the sound effects and when I saw the
Beautiful.
movie how that was made, with
Yeah.
flushing the toilet and I don't know what kind of thing. That was the thing that was most in my head. But
it,
I
it was.
remember one scene when you walked around in Mist, at least in one part of it, it was like
Uh-huh.
you could hear your steps. It was like
Yeah.
like put in
Like your
something wet.
heartbeat.
And then at that time, I was still living in Germany. Well, of course, and there was the area where I lived was all flooded, and I wore rubber boots, and I walked with my dog that I had then, and the
Which
sound of the boot was like.
yes.
And right away, I was inside the game, it
Oh,
was
yeah.
really fascinating.
That's
That was
It was.
wonderful.
and I don't know if it still exists, but there was for the longest time, a grid a sim
Uh-huh.
on
The
Kitely,
mist, yes.
Yeah.
and that was so cool. I was there a lot of time, and the people that did that, they came together or almost together from Second Life already, and
Uh,
they did that for years. I haven't found it anymore now. I looked for it lately, but they were so inside of the game, the role play. They well, with pardon, but they couldn't talk normal anymore. They were always inside the game, even if they talked to a casual visitor like I was. It was
It's funny the references to Neil or something like that. I can't pronounce them. I recognise them when I see them written. Oh, this was a race called the whatever
mm,
that word is. But yeah, I mean, it was one of the first games of any strength to come out on the Mac, even before Windows, and it made its name really there. But it was the first thing I could, it wasn't a virtual world like Second Life and its successors have been, but um, it was a first step in that direction for me, seeing that and thinking what could be
mm,
done if you
mm,
could really be in there and you weren't relying on pre-programmed stuff, but
mm.
creating your own. And there
Uh-oh,
is
there's the
a wolf.
wolf. I
Yeah,
better
well,
get going.
yeah, yeah. Let's carry on with the slides. I heard you. I heard you talking about the wolf earlier. And I thought, oh, James has missed his cue.
Well, we're almost
Anyway,
done.
yeah, fine. Yeah.
So when you look at this slide, having a fireplace under the books is probably not a good idea, but it looks
Not
so
really,
cool.
but it looks cool. Yeah.
And the books are great. You can look at them, you can read them. I'm showing you one of them there. They have various role play themes, magical themes, spell casting, alchemy. I think there's an alchemy recipe, and that's an alchemist lab on the right.
Mm.
And on the left, I know many of you probably already play Greedy, but
Yep.
Greedy is
Oh,
a little difficult for newcomers because the rules change between rounds, right? So this is a Yahtzee table, okay? And it's one you can play alone.
Mm.
So
wow.
that's part of its advantage. And it also adds 5 different steps. And I have to admit, when I was pregnant with my now daughter, formerly my son, I played a lot of Yahtzee because I needed a sanity check, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because I was working long hours for Air Force Space Command at the time, in the Situation Room, right, doing the
Oh,
software. So, if you ever saw the movie War Games, I was working on the
oh,
large wall screen displays and their software. But in any event, I love Yahtzee, and of course, this is a lot of fun, and you can play alone, and everything works. I just love that. Oh, I see you have the image there, Mal, on screen of the court.
oh, the one that sort of reminded me of Game of
Yeah.
Thrones type thing. Yeah, they just look like so much part
Absolutely.
of so much part of the story of some sort. Yeah.
That's it. Well, I better wrap soon because otherwise
Yeah.
you won't ask me back for part 3. So
Yeah.
here's Wildwood Bayou. And I want to tell you,
Yep.
these people are so warm-hearted. Last year, I participated in both of their role play events on Sundays and Wednesdays and had a blast. I curated with so many photos and followed their story. But unfortunately, working for 5 universities and teaching 15 classes at the university level, including 2 doctoral AI classes, I'm tapped out, right? So unfortunately, I couldn't continue after a few months, but I did go visit their site, and many of their content all around the region is take copy. Beautiful trees
Mm.
and incredible stuff. But here at the heart of the French Quarter, inside the buildings, there'll be these instruments played by various musicians, and they
Yeah.
are all take copy too. So let's
Ah,
take a little look here. This, of course, is at the heart of the French Quarter. And when you go inside, the voodoo shop, I had never been inside. I don't know why. I guess I didn't get down to the water on the river walk. But the voodoo shop is full of content that you can get, lots of books, right? And of course, they're using some sort of green light to give it this green filter. I'm showing you on my
yeah.
face how it changes, right? And I'm wearing one of the masks from the mask shop. I had a step. If you look in the upper left, when I went to put it on, it wasn't correctly seated, and this happens in OpenSim, where it'll lose memory of exactly how it should attach to our faces. So all you do is you edit it and drag it on over, and then of course I rotated it just a little bit because I like it down on my nose. And that
Right.
was a lot of fun. See, often educators, if the first time we try something, it doesn't work, we think, well, it's broken. And the
Hmm.
answer is no, no, no. We just have to adjust it to fit ourselves. And
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
we
here
all
I
have
am
different
wearing it.
faces too, right?
Mm,
That's
mm.
it. That's it. But anyway, all of that wonderful stuff, including all these apothecary, and so if we were doing a medieval doctor's shop or a
Yeah.
chemist or whatever, yeah, yeah.
It's
And then of
funny,
course,
safari.
yeah,
Tosha said to this safari. We've been, well, probably a lot of Trekkies too, but we've been to so many versions of New Orleans,
that's it.
Yeah, that's true.
But
and
this is the voodoo shop.
I always admire the streets, but I mean, there must
And they
be.
were all fantastic, really.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
exactly, yeah. But
But
Well,
whether
this
I've
one's
been to that one
wonderful.
or been in it, I don't
but
know.
but you know what I want to say is that your slides and the things that you talk about give me so many good ideas, and I'm so thankful because right now at the moment I am occupied building a Medici villa.
Oh,
You know,
wonderful.
Medici is
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
you know
yes.
what
right.
okay, and I do that in commission for
Oh, wonderful.
Liku and I don't know who else,
Uh-huh.
and it's from the outside it's even rather fairly easy to build. You know, it's
Sure.
more or less square, and then it has some things, and I'm working. You know, I'm building it in Blender, but the
Oh, nice.
insides. I'm going
Uh-huh.
crazy, you know, with all the furniture and now I see I don't have to make them all. I can, you know, look around in the regions that you indicated and maybe some other
Yeah, just go
and
collect them.
find them because these furniture are well, I make furniture, but you know, more the crappy type and not the Renaissance or the Rococo type. You know, that is
Yes,
so
all that
difficult.
beautiful, lush, baroque kind of.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, at the Stark North District, I noticed several like that. I also noticed a lot of whimsy too. You know, in other words, beds that have a sense of humor. You know,
Oh,
so
cool.
I
Yeah.
know that sounds weird, but that's how I felt about them is I thought, "Oh, this would be great for a certain kind of build," or this
Mm,
creates a
Yeah,
mood or an experience, you know.
mm.
And also
And
at Dival's too, because remember she has a lot of home decor items there.
and if they are you know free to give, and if you can even you know
Yes.
change them, you know, a little bit the texture to make it
She
look
had a note
more
up
like
saying, she'd made them modifiable, and then she'd also added a copy permission on them too, because people needed them for this, that, or the other, and
yeah,
they requested
wonderful.
it, so she put a note up saying she had done that, but
Oh,
yes.
that is really wonderful.
Mhm.
That is really so that will save me 6 months of work.
Absolutely.
6
And then,
months
you
of
know what
work.
I do? I always do this connectivist thing where I put up a little note card and I say, "Oh, this is the blending of all these creative, wonderful talents
Yeah,
that have made my vision come to
yeah,
life," you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Well, I'll wrap on this thought and say thank you for inviting me back to do some more shopping, and I look forward to the next time.
Wonderful.
Yay!
I'm
Yay!
Tosha here. I sort of, when I actually had places to put stuff and spare time to sort of try building stuff, so I was sort of wondering, where on earth can I go and get it? Now I travel around a bit and find lots of places to pick up stuff, and I pick them up and think, oh, I can use that. And of course, I'm going to know where to
Yeah,
use it. But it does, like you say, it invokes the imagination. You sort of see that desk and this
Absolutely.
thing and think, oh, God, that would fit. Well, I don't know yet, but somewhere perfect. Yeah, so it's great. It's maybe we should have a special show and rename it Found Objects.
Exploring,
I think there is a show already called Found Objects, but it's somehow got a nice ring to it, hasn't it?
spelunking.
Yeah. Well,
wonderful.
the wolf howled. It
Yep.
hasn't actually come in to bite me yet, but I bet it needs its dinner. um, This has been absolutely great. It's been
Yeah.
absolutely great. I'm
Yep.
scanning my screen here now, saying, "What have I missed? What have I missed?" But I don't really care. We will have to have a part 3 of the shopping expedition before another year is out. Well, maybe when the next year is out. So the annual shopping program with Leah or something. Yeah.
That was most interesting and fascinating, Leo.
Yep.
Really.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you ever so much. You've really helped me a lot.
It is
That is
wonderful,
so
and it's so
good.
great to talk with you.
It's so great. That's so good to hear. Any questions from James, by the way? He's the quiet partner here because he's on his camera. But
Yeah, one thing I think I missed at the beginning is that you were describing a lot of these things as gifts to a certain group. And was
Oh,
there a
yeah.
group that you mentioned that this was happening with?
It's my research group, my reason
Oh,
for
okay.
being,
Right, right.
I started in virtual worlds in 2005, and in 2008, I was invited to join a research group to plan simulations for Mars and to
Yep.
also do leadership, character strengths, medicine, to do research for bioinformatics. And we also use artificial intelligence and machine learning. Um, but we build it ourselves from scratch. We're not, although right now we did anchor with generative AI, but my research partner trained the AI models that we're using for many
Uh,
years,
Oh,
yep.
supporting OpenAI on the
uh,
military side,
Mm-hmm.
because of course they need AI that has been screened and trained and isn't the same as what we use for social.
Right, right.
And so we use it to do some sophisticated problem solving and creativity and to think about solutions that are just not possible in real life. And
yeah.
so that's virtual harmony that you're talking about.
Got
And I
it.
am one
Okay.
of the Harmony Society members
All
who are
right.
working on a better future.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's curious. I am very curious too about. We'll come back to it another day. Of course, is the Mars expl- exploratory sort of
Oh,
things.
yeah. Yeah.
And I've seen the other day. I don't know whether you've included it in any simulation, but power source on Mars.
Oh,
You have
you
solar, but
well, you
uh,
remember we have the Mars expedition. That's the
Right.
one we
yeah,
won $25,000 for, the grand prize at the Federal Virtual World Challenge, and we continue to work on that. There are over 6 or 7 levels, and we have hypothesized some solutions, and we test them there. What our AI does is it's both a guide that players can ask it questions, but it also harvests from what they ask to ponder the possibilities, to hypothesize what would it be like if we did these things? How would we resolve the technical issues to make that possible? And so we learn from our players, even as our players learn from the simulation. So it's a little like Fold It. Remember that
Oh, yeah.
game that
Mm-hmm.
solved the HIV protease in 2 weeks or 3 weeks with gamers?
Yep.
no,
The
don't know
gamers had no idea how to do protein folding. They just did the activity, and they didn't know their boundaries. They didn't know what's possible and what's not possible. So, of course, they challenged it in ways that a scientist wouldn't, and of course, discovered what scientists hadn't discovered in 10 years of work. So, we're hoping to leverage that same community spirit in making discoveries in the future.
Looking outside the box kind of thing.
That's it.
Yeah, I was thinking of thermodynamics and stuff. I was reading a lot about them recently. Like, there's well, and a good example is there's a rather downtrodden region in the north of England where they flooded all the old mines. And the council there can now provide power, heat, especially for pennies to all the local residents, you know, in the whole area, who, you know, with the cost of living can't afford proper electricity, but they're getting it for free anyway because the council is, I don't know, that had they flooded the mines and it generates its own heat and power. Basically,
it's a very creative solution.
And you know, it's a good use for the old mines, you know. But you know, it costs virtually little and it's got no environmental impact. I suddenly thought, well, place to start that is probably somewhere like Mars. You've got the heat still, haven't you? And they reckon there's water under the surface and stuff like that. I mean, it seems to me that going under the surface of Mars might be all sorts of possibilities there. You know, but anyway, I'm off on a wild goose chase again now. But this is the joy of these things. You get into discussions, and we'll be here all day. Right. Yeah, so good. Good point there, James, with the group and everything. Anything else from you, Tosha? Any final questions for there or any?
No. I have to let everything sink in, and I just
yeah, so true.
Well, you can always watch this replay of a show that's.
Oh, I will. You can be sure. I will, and I know where to use the button for pause.
Like I was doing with that, like I do live here a bit,
and go back and forth and to
and you've got
rewatch everything.
And we've got we put them up. I think they'll be in chat. The links to the documents for the pictures and the both shopping and for the AI. Right. Okay. Well, we better wrap up. I don't want to wrap up, but the dog is waiting. The wolf is waiting. He is howling. He's howling. He's going to howl again in a minute, isn't he? Maybe not. No.
Nope. He's done.
Right. He's done. He's fed up. He's got enough for the day.
For the next session, Mel, I will bring you a wolf because I have that wolf that we saw on the slides of Lear.
Yeah.
And I will bring it to you, and then maybe I can train it to bite you.
Oh, well, yeah. I thank you, Tosha, as usual.
It's great
with the threat. No, actually, I think I got some somewhere. It actually does make sense to have one on stage to sort of marry the sound to the creature. But yes, he would need to come barging into the stage from one of the sides and come up to us and bark, and that way I might actually get the message. For real. Okay, time to wrap. We're a nice long show today. We've been an hour and 3/4, which is half bad. So it was well worth it there, the discussion we've had and everything.
Yes, it was.
We're going to cover several things from the shopping AI and everything else, plus our Safari reviews. So next week will be a bit quieter because we won't have a Safari review. We might find things to do in the meantime that need discussing. But yes, we will be back same time, next place. There's a chap called Andron who we went on Safari not so long ago, and he's got I don't know whether the region is called Brigadoon or not, but it's a telling of the old Scottish tale or whatever, and it's wholly interactive. You meet characters who talk to you in text, unfortunately, but so we'll be discussing another side of storytelling next week with Brigadoon.
No music? The music's so beautiful from Brigadoon.
Right. From the film.
From the film. I used to sing it. Yeah.
I almost downloaded it. I looked it up after we visited there, and I almost downloaded the film, and I thought it was a bit old. I don't know why. I never kind of get around to it.
Right.
Gene Kelly,
Maybe
amazing.
I should. It would be a good thing to show the old clip on while we're talking. It's probably out of copyright by now anyway, so I can certainly download it if I need it. All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to wrap. Wonderful to see you again, Leah. And thank you for the education, the conversation, and everything else. Wonderful to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks, everyone. Love those comments.
And thanks also to my co-host, Tosha Tyran. Thank you, Tosha.
My pleasure.
Lots of great input here today. And thanks to the right-hand man, the sitter and the knob fiddler, James Atlloud.
Thank you, Mel. And as always, it's thank you for bringing us together. I had a great time.
Right.
Yes,
Wonderful.
indeed.
And of course, thank you from me. I'm going to wish you all a very good morning, or a very good afternoon, or a very good evening, or indeed a good tomorrow, depending on wherever and whenever you are. And we're out of here.